A faint radiance shimmered across the sky, a soft, ghostly halo wrapped around a pulsing heart of light. Its glow spread wider than the stars behind it, a whisper of energy that felt almost alive. It didn't shine like a reflection. It moved like intention. Each flicker seemed to breathe, as if space itself had grown aware of being watched. Far below the Franco-Swiss border, deep within the caverns of CERN, the world's most advanced machines waited in silence. In the underground halls of a re-engineered research complex, code-named the 3i Facility, a pulse of light was about to be born. It was not an accident nor a weapon, but a deliberate act of creation. An attempt to push light itself beyond every known boundary. The project's goal was simple to describe, impossible to achieve: to see what happens when illumination stops behaving like energy and begins to act like thought. The birth of the pulse, the experiment, was called TEI, Tri-Photon Entangled Interference. Dozens of ultra-high-frequency lasers were set to overlap perfectly, forming a lattice of pure coherence, light folded upon itself. At the center stood the Atlas chamber, transformed from a particle collider into an instrument of photonic compression. Superconducting stabilizers lined the walls, maintaining absolute symmetry. Quantum regulators hummed quietly, tuned to capture even the faintest shift in a photon's state. Every reflection, every lens, every mirror was calibrated to atomic precision. Finally, the activation panels came alive, blue, then white. Energy levels surged. Power readings flashed red, then steadied. The pulse was ready. When released, it wasn't a single beam, it was harmony made visible. Hundreds of frequencies layered together, moving as one unified wave. The column of light rose upward, clean and soundless, piercing through the atmosphere like a blade of dawn. From the surface, witnesses saw the night itself fold around it. For one trembling second, the sky rippled, as if the fabric of reality had taken a breath. The impossible reading the data stunned everyone. The beam's brightness exceeded 10 to the power of 23 watts per square centimeter. So intense that even photons began to exert gravity. Light, the universe's weightless traveler, had briefly gained mass. For a heartbeat, relativity and quantum physics collided. Space bent. Time wavered. Monitors overflowed with unreadable numbers, values beyond calibration. In that instant, photons appeared to attract one another, spiraling into a luminous thread of curved spacetime. Then, silence. The light vanished. Cooling systems hummed softly through the still air. No explosion. No failure. Only an uneasy quiet that felt almost conscious. The return signal minutes later, the sensors began to twitch. Not from inside the facility, but from outside, beyond the Earth itself. Readings from magnetometers and satellite detectors all showed the same thing. Space was echoing. Hours passed before the full picture emerged. A faint harmonic pattern had embedded itself within the return signal, rhythmic, repeating, impossibly precise. It wasn't random static. It was a reply. Astronomers across the planet turned their telescopes upward. Above the Atlantic, a distortion had formed, invisible to the eye but measurable in gravity and light. It spread outward in slow, concentric waves, moving with intent. No debris. No radiation. Only a silent ripple drifting toward the edge of the solar system. The pattern in the light weeks of decoding followed. When researchers visualized the harmonic sequence, a haunting image appeared. 3 arcs of light encircling a central point, an eye formed from geometry itself. They called it the 3i pattern. No known formula could explain it. It was as if light, compressed past its limit, had revealed something older, something written into the structure of the universe. Then came the reports from space observatories. A faint glow had been detected between Mars and Jupiter. It matched the exact spectral signature of the Atlas pulse. Whatever had left Earth was still moving and accelerating. By the time it reached Saturn's orbit, the formation had evolved. It wasn't a ripple anymore, it was architecture. A translucent hexagon folding into a spiral of coherent light, twisting in rhythmic motion like a living lattice. Radio arrays recorded subtle modulations from the structure, patterns that seemed to respond to observation itself. Was it feedback? Or consciousness? Inside the subterranean chambers of CERN, the air was heavy with exhaustion and disbelief. For 72 hours straight, physicists had been combing through terabytes of fractured data, rerunning diagnostics, recalibrating instruments, cross-checking for errors that shouldn't exist. The lab smelled faintly of ozone and cold metal. Monitors glowed with restless light as streams of information poured across the screens. Somewhere within that storm of numbers, they all felt it, a hidden pattern waiting to be found. Then, just after 3:17 a.m., one of the analysts froze. The room fell silent. Buried deep within the static was a second pulse. It matched the original beam from the Atlas chamber, identical in frequency, identical in energy, but inverted, as though the universe itself had taken their signal and played it backward. It hadn't bounced off a planet or satellite. It came from a direction no one expected, deep space, far beyond the heliosphere. Something out there had copied their signal, and sent it back. At first, the team thought it was an artifact, interference, maybe a cosmic ray strike. But when they aligned the waveforms, the pattern was flawless. It wasn't noise. It was deliberate. When the raw data was converted into audio, the laboratory filled with a low, humming resonance, deep and textured, almost human in its rhythm. It wasn't random static. It pulsed in layered tones, three harmonics weaving through each other, forming a structure that seemed almost musical. Some of the younger scientists leaned closer, mesmerized. To them, it sounded like a choir, faint, distant, mournful. Others heard something else entirely, an order, a pulse, a heartbeat in the void. Whatever it was, the tone carried a strange emotional weight, as if it knew it was being listened to. People stopped speaking. Every sound in the lab felt intrusive. For a long, suspended minute, all they could hear was that voice, not speaking in words, but aware. A senior researcher whispered, "It's not an echo." Another replied, "Then what is it?" No one answered. Within hours, the discovery reached the upper echelons of scientific authority. Encrypted transmissions were sent to Geneva, Washington, Moscow, and Beijing. By dawn, the project's communication links were severed. Every public record, every live feed, every backup copy of the data was quietly erased from the global grid. Officially, it was declared a quantum light stability test, a routine calibration exercise. Unremarkable. Controlled. Privately, however, the internal classification tag was chilling: cosmic interference, non-terrestrial origin possible. Outside the facility, journalists who had noticed the initial light burst received identical statements: nothing unusual, no cause for alarm. But those inside CERN knew better. They had heard the sound. And they had seen the numbers. A small core team refused to stop. In a sealed control room, isolated from the rest of the grid, they continued analyzing the last fragments of the returning waveform. For hours, they slowed it down, stretched it, reversed it, trying to decode its rhythm. Finally, one of them noticed a repeating interval hidden in the signal's tail end. It wasn't part of the frequency spectrum. It was timing. 3 short bursts. 1 long. Then silence. Then repeat. When they ran it through the Morse protocol, the translation appeared instantly on screen: 2 words. Plain, undeniable, unmistakable. We see you. The room fell utterly still. No one spoke. No one moved. The only sound was the soft hum of cooling fans and the faint heartbeat of the servers. One physicist stepped back from his console, whispering, "It's aware of us," another murmured, "Or maybe, it always was." The words hung in the air like gravity. Somewhere, far beyond the reach of the solar system, something had listened and responded. Something that understood the language of light, and perhaps, had been waiting for humanity to speak first. In the following days, the government sealed the Atlas chamber. All further experiments were suspended indefinitely. Official reports were buried under layers of administrative jargon. And yet, the tone never stopped. Sensitive radio telescopes around the world kept catching the same faint harmonic, repeating across multiple frequencies, always with the same rhythm. 3 short. 1 long. Silence. Over and over, from every direction at once. As if the message wasn't being sent anymore, but broadcast. And every time the signal pulsed through the void, deep within CERN's silent halls, one question echoed among the few who still remembered the night of the light. If they can see us, what are we seeing in return?